Let's talk about the essentials for creating space and also all the props and equipment that you need to start working out at home. So we'll start by talking about all these different props, and then I'll talk a little bit about setting up your space at home, and we'll go from there. Okay, so there's quite a few props that I have around me, but it's not a ton. And aside from these two balls, they're things that really actually like tuck into corners, into small baskets very easily. So this does not need to take up a lot of space in your house. So especially if you are a little bit limited on space, if you're living in a small home or a small apartment, not to worry. Don't let that hold you back. Please, please, please. I don't want you to think that you need to have this whole big fancy workout space in your home or like a dedicated room or anything like that. So I want to start with probably my very favorite home workout equipment. Okay. So number one, I love a good foam roller. You can do standing stuff on this. You can use it for mobility work, to do self-myofascial release, almost like you can give yourself a massage. But, which you might also, there's a lot of little tools to do self-massage. But the other thing that I love about a foam roller is it's an amazing piece of workout equipment at the same time. So you get amazing mobility work. It's great for standing work, and it's great for other kinds of strengthening work. Okay, so I absolutely love a good foam roller. This one is quite firm. They make ones that are kind of squishier, so you might even enjoy having one or two different versions of a foam roller. I do recommend the full length one. So this one is 36 inches long, and it allows me to lay down on it so that my head and my tail is fully supported on the roller. So if you have a short one, that's good for some stuff, but the long one is the one that's really the most universally multi-use. So that is probably my number one first choice. If you don't have anything else, I would get a foam roller. From there, let's talk about resistance bands. Having a good resistance band, for one, it takes up zero space, right? Like this folds into like the tiniest little thing, and you can throw it in a suitcase. You can bring it with you wherever you go. You can have a few different resistance bands. So this one's like a good, just sort of medium resistance, but it's not that hard to have a handful of different ones that are different levels of resistance. There's so many different kinds of resistance bands. So if you're used to working out at a gym and you're trying to transition to working out at home, maybe you're used to doing more yoga or Pilates and you're trying to figure out what equipment you really need at home, resistance bands is an amazing place to start. I particularly like the TheraBand brand. The first kind of most therapeutic version is this one that comes with yellow, red, and green. And then if you want a little bit of like the heavier resistance bands, you're looking for this combo that's silver, black, and blue. Okay. And then if you have all of those, you're fully set up with resistance bands. Okay, so from there, it starts to vary a little bit like what your body actually needs. If you need more mobility work, if you need more stress relief, if you need more strengthening, you might be making different choices on what you choose to get from there. A Swiss ball, I find an invaluable piece of equipment for at home. It doubles as a seat, as a chair. So, there's even really cute little covers that you can get that turn it into more of like a pretty piece of equipment in your house. That and the Bosu ball, both, I love that they have these curves. So there's a lot of mobility work that you can do to open up your spine and open up your posture. But then at the same time, they offer quite a bit of support if it comes to doing a little bit more resistance training and things like that. So I love either one or the other. The Bosu ball is going to lend itself a little bit more to standing up on. So I like the Bosu a little bit more for standing work, for cardio, things like that. And the Swiss ball, I prefer this over the Bosu ball if you've got a little bit more of a stiff spine and just need to do like a lot more mobility work for your spine or focus more on core strength then you might choose the Swiss ball first. Okay, moving on, let's look at this next. So this is a lacrosse ball. Lots of different kinds of self-massage balls. I also particularly like the yoga tune-up balls. Those are two little balls that come in a little mesh bag. There's amazing stuff you can do with those. You can take one out of the bag and just use it as a single ball, or you can use them together in their little bag. You can also take two tennis balls and put them into a sock. So if you don't have any kind of small massage ball, definitely get one of those, especially if there's a lot of stiffness in the feet, if there's a lot of stiffness in the shoulders, the neck, the upper back, then these are going to be invaluable for you. A couple just small things that you already have around, just a small hand towel is very useful for lots of different things. So just having that be, I particularly like having a white towel that's kind of dedicated just so that I know that that's like my clean towel that I use. But you can choose your towel. Along those lines, having a yoga blanket or a pillow or something like that. It's just kind of nice for more stress relieving, relaxing work, but that you can also use to support your head and neck in different positions. So basically just like a pillow or one or two pillows that, isn't too poofy, but also isn't too squishy, so that it does give you some support in bulk, which also could be like one or two yoga blankets. From there, I have a long history in yoga, so having a couple yoga blocks, I use these every single day. But I don't necessarily use these in the traditional as much now, traditionally the way that yoga people would use them traditionally. But there are still a handful of yoga exercises that I like to do with the yoga blocks. But they're also just really helpful for creating support, right? I like to stand on them to balance. If you're down on your hands and knees, they can be helpful for like figuring out how to step your leg forward or things like that. So they do come in handy, but it's sort of a little bit your personal preference. If you're kind of a yoga person and you like doing yoga, then you'll also definitely want to have a couple yoga blocks. Okay, so then from there let's talk about the chair next, because pretty much everyone has some kind of a chair at home, but this particular chair is a yoga chair. I don't suggest that you necessarily need to buy a specific yoga chair unless you're really into chair yoga and like Iyengar yoga. But this is a fabulous kind of chair. So something that doesn't have arms on the sides, something that has a fair bit of space going through the back of it, something that's quite sturdy so that if you put your feet on it or do a plank on it or stand up on it, it's not going to give. So some kind of just sturdy, solid, simple chair without armrests is also a very valuable tool to have at home to use for your home workouts. And then last but not least, I have a couple hand weights here. This is a 5-pound weight. This is an 8-pound weight. I have 2 of each of these. I also have some lighter hand weights. And then I also have some adjustable kettlebells and dumbbells so that I can kind of like adjust if I want it to be heavier or lighter. I love those because they're great for space saving. So if you want to have something that gives you the option to also have heavier weight, but you don't necessarily want to like have a whole rack of like lots of weights, then these kind of sets where you're able to adjust how much weight goes on is really nice, especially at home where you maybe just want it to take up just like a little corner of the living room, but not like a whole dedicated space. And even if you don't do something like that, it is nice to have a few hand weights, right? It could maybe just be like 3, 5, and 8 pounds. They make like these little racks that just have enough to hold those 6 weights. Something like that is nice to have as well. So that about does it. Let me know if you have any questions. There's lots of different versions, but especially before you go out and buy like a big piece of equipment, like a big treadmill or something like that, I think it's so important to have diversity in your movement, to be doing a lot of different kinds of movement, moving in a lot of different shapes, a lot of different directions, things like that. So I've just seen it happen so often that big expensive pieces of workout equipment just turn into clothes hangers and gather dust. So unless you've really proven to yourself that you're going to use that at home, I do not suggest folks buy big, expensive, fancy equipment that takes up a bunch of space, because it also means that then it eats up space where you could do something else, right? So what's beautiful about all these pieces of equipment is they just tuck into the corner, and then you have your living room to use for whatever you want to use it for. And you then also have a lot of space just to lay on the floor or bring out the ball or bring out the foam roller, and you have space to move, right? So it's really adaptable and diverse and helps to encourage your body to move in a lot of different ways. Whereas if you have just like this one big piece of equipment, then it's just kind of like just that, or then there's not room for other stuff. Of course, unless you've got plenty of space to have like a full home gym at your disposal. And in that case, just have fun and do it all, right? So of course, feel free to ask any questions. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know if you want specific links to any of these products, and I'll see you guys later.